Guys, I think I've mentioned this before. And, I just got to say it again here because Twitter has been dead ever since they banned former President Trump, right? It's been dead, right? It does kind of seem like a liberal wasteland at this point. And it's kind of sad. I mean, it really is. I mean, a lot of conservatives have been banned. My timeline is definitely not what it used to be, right? When things were a lot crazier than they were today. Okay. So with that, moving forward, one thing I am keeping up with is what are the president's plans moving forward. Okay. Because, if he's going to run in 2024, or he's going to try to put together some type of coalition or, be politically active or set up some type of infrastructure, then he's going to need to figure out the social media messaging problem, right? That's a big deal, right? I think that's probably definitely on his top 5 list of issues to deal with, getting the message out and staying relevant, okay? Because, over 4 years, if he's not on social media, right, and he's not actively putting out messages, then I think that there's a chance that some of the Trump euphoria could die down. So addressing that is going to be really important. And, some of the things I've already talked about already is that, he could buy an existing platform, or he can create his own platform, right? So, I've talked about that, the pros and cons of each one before, and you guys can watch earlier videos on that. But Trump has started to come out and talk more about his plans moving forward in regard to social media. So let's take a listen at his interview on Newsmax with Greg Kelly and kind of get a look into what his plans are moving forward in regards to communication and messaging.
Twitter, we're looking at a lot of different things, but I really wanted to be somewhat quiet. It hasn't been that quiet, frankly, but I wanted to be somewhat quiet, and they wanted me very much on Parler. They had a phony report that the man who wasn't there didn't. I mean, just the opposite. They really wanted me on Parler. And, I had 89 million, but that was because they held it back. And then on top of that, I had 36 million or 39 million on POTUS. And we had other sites where we had millions and millions of people. So we have, I guess, about as big as it gets. And likewise on Facebook. And they all want that. And part of the problem is mechanically they can't handle it because it's too many people. It's bigger than they are by many times. And they want to... And I'll tell you, it's not the same. If you look at what's going on with Twitter, I understand it's become very boring, and millions of people are leaving. They're leaving it because it's not the same, and I can understand that. And so we'll see what happens. We're negotiating with a number of people, and there's also the other option of building your own site because we have more people than anybody. So you can literally build your own site. But we were being really harassed on Twitter. They were putting up all sorts of flags, I guess they call them. They were flagging almost anything you said. Everything I was saying was being flagged. It's disgraceful. And yet you have other foreign countries saying the worst things possible, and they don't even talk about it. But it's become very boring. We don't want to go back to Twitter.
A couple of quick things. Yeah, no, I understand. Maybe building your own platform.
We're getting the word out just by putting out statements. I mean, if I want to put something out, like we did with Rush today, we did a couple of I'm Doing You, and which is an honor. But we get the word out. If we want to get the word out, it's pretty easy. There are a lot of ways to get the word out.
No, you still command enormous attention. So I want to go back again. Look, it's a no-brainer. You're going to run for president in 2024, right? I mean, you got all the support. Why wouldn't you run?
Well, we have tremendous support. I won't say yet, but we have tremendous support. And I'm looking at poll numbers that are through the roof. You saw what happened yesterday. We went up. I'm the only guy gets impeached, and my numbers go up. I'm going to figure that one out. Let's say somebody gets impeached. Typically, your numbers would go down. They would.
All right, so you heard the president there. Basically, he's saying that he's done with Twitter. Right. But messaging and getting the word out is important. And I actually do agree with him. It's not as hard as I'm making it seem because anything the president does, like, for example, when he came out to McConnell, the media is going to cover it. CNN is going to hop on it. MSNBC is going to hop on it. Fox News is going to hop on it because it's going to bring more viewership than anything that Joe Biden does. Right. Even bashing Biden. Right. So I don't think it will be super hard for him to get the word out. But him being on a social media platform is valuable in and of itself. I mean, it really did make Twitter great, right, for the last 4 to 5 years, right? Trump being on that platform. Okay, so there's obviously a lot of money potentially behind any platform that President Trump wants to get on, and I actually agree with him on this in the sense that I actually like the fact that he's taking the time to strategically decide before hopping on another platform. Right? He's taking the time to really think about, okay, do I really want to be under somebody else's jurisdiction in terms of my ability to speak? Because, again, these other platforms, guys, I mean, when they pop up, those sites get censored too. Okay? That's just kind of how stuff works, right? All these companies are interconnected, right? That's just kind of how it works. And those sites will end up getting censored. Right, so if Trump is on a site like Gab, and Gab comes under pressure from the woke mob, like Parler did, I understand Gab has their own servers, but at the same time, they could potentially fold to pressure, right? If there's enough pressure. So the president having his own platform, could be the way to go. I think it would be easier for him just to buy one, right? An existing one that already has an audience and infrastructure. But if in terms of a long-term venture, right? If he's trying to really make some serious money off of it, I definitely think that there is a audience for that. So it looks like, maybe my logic on this is sound, because Trump, reportedly has courted billionaire backers as he plans a conservative-friendly social media platform. Former President Donald Trump has told friends he has hundreds of millions of dollars in backing for a new social media venture that would give him an online presence and protect conservatives from being shut down online. Two sources familiar with discussions said investors included Silicon Valley figures motivated by fears of censorship and online cancel culture. Yes, these people are smart, right? I 100% believe that, because these people know that the pendulum swings both ways. Right now, everything's in agreement with the liberal narrative and woke culture, because that's how people are making money. But once they become too woke, right, and they're no longer useful, the pendulum will swing back the other way. Right, and you have to be prepared for that. So I could definitely see why people in Silicon Valley would be motivated to start some type of platform in which, you can control censorship and, you can fight back against cancel culture. Right, because eventually, again, those that push cancel culture, it's going to get so tiresome, right, and it's going to get so ridiculous that a lot of people will just be like, I'm done with it. Right, I'm just done with cancel culture. I don't care. I just want to go on a platform where people can just say whatever. Nobody cares. Nobody's going to try to cancel nobody. Like, it is what it is. Okay, and I do think a lot of people on the left are going to get fed up eventually. And I think there's people in Silicon Valley that do understand this. And somebody that was smart would understand this, right? That there's always opportunity created out of adversity, right? Somebody's going to take the opportunity to try to address the market need. That's Parler, that's Gab, that's all these other platforms. That's essentially what they're doing. Details emerged as Trump began a new phase of his post-presidency, giving television interviews from his Florida base in the week after his Senate impeachment acquittal. On Wednesday, he boasted about the millions of people who followed him on his now shuttered Twitter and Facebook accounts, and confirmed that he had considered buying a social media company. So that's everything that we've already talked about and heard about from him in his interview with Newsmax. It also says here, two sources familiar with discussions said Trump had also met with potential investors in a new online venture designed to allow the former president to engage with his supporters and protect them from being taken offline. Trump's team is using the free speech argument to attract libertarian donors, said one Republican. Quote, "They aren't the people you might expect," he said. Chairman of the American Conservative Union, Matt Schlapp, said it was impossible for Twitter, Facebook, and other tech giants to keep Trump out of politics. His TV appearances marked a welcome return for the 74 million people who voted for him in November, he said. There's a real despondent feeling among those people, he said, and many were buoyant to hear the former president. We never had a president get silenced before. It's never happened. A spokesman for Trump did not respond to requests for comments. In the meantime, many of his supporters have migrated to messaging sites such as Telegram, which was itself taken offline last month by its host, Amazon Web Services, over a pattern of hateful posts. It later emerged that Parler had been in talks with the Trump organization last year, offering a 40% stake if he made the no holds bar platform his online home, according to BuzzFeed News. That's interesting as well. So it seems like Parler had been in talks with Trump in order to get him on board. However, it looks like Trump is not necessarily as interested in getting on somebody else's platform. I think he kind of wants to have his own thing where he has his own control over it, right? He wants to take most of the ownership. So, again, I think it's a huge market, to be quite honest with you. I really do think there's a huge market for it. I just think that, it's one of those things where they have to do it in a way that I think is not overtly for just conservatives, right? Like, it's for protecting conservative speech. But if you make it just for conservatives, I think that that's not going to be good for getting people on the left to hop on that platform. Now, who knows? I mean, they may just never get on the platform because, Trump is involved with it in general. But, I'm just saying, like, in order for something like that to be really, really successful, I do think it's going to need to appeal to a broad audience. But, I mean, I don't know. Maybe specializing with just conservatives and having companies that, just want to target conservatives. I mean, who knows? That could be the sweet spot. Right. So I think the real difficulty that former President Trump is going to face is finding people who want to advertise on that platform, who want to advertise to conservatives. Because like I told you guys, a lot of this stuff is woke capitalism, where companies are trying to target woke people. Right. Use wokeness to target a certain demographic of people who they believe is the future of the country. Right. So, he's going to need to get advertisers, maybe like companies like MyPillow or Hobby Lobby that are more friendly to conservatives, and other companies who still want to advertise conservatives, right? Like conservatives, still spend money. They still have money, right? Contrary to what some liberals believe. But if he can get advertisers, right, in order to start bringing in some money and to help sustain the platform, then that's the way to go. I think the hardest part is going to be monetization. How do you monetize a platform like this, right? Maybe you have a membership fee. Who knows? Maybe you go completely independent of advertisers, because again, if you're independent of advertisers, then you don't necessarily have to answer to them if they don't like something that you say, right? So maybe having some type of membership fee or something like that, some type of other type of setup is the way to go. But monetization by far is probably going to be the most difficult part, but he will have no difficulties getting people on the platform. That's not going to be the difficult part. So interested to see what the president does here. Let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.